Morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome. It's wonderful to see so many of us joining today. We hope that today's conversation will give you a clear sense of the training opportunities available in our field, and in particular, what makes program like the York Antiquarian Book Seminar such a valuable and rewarding experience. Earlier this week on Monday, we hosted a similar question and answer session focused on the CABS Minnesota seminar in the US. YABS can be seen as its UK and indeed European counterpart, and it is very much inspired by that same model. Experienced booksellers and librarians sharing knowledge, expertise, and practical insights with participants. The York Antiquarian Book Seminar, coordinated by the Antiquarian Booksellers Association in the UK, has quickly established itself as one of the leading training programs for the rare book trade. It brings together experienced booksellers and librarians with those new to the profession for an intensive and highly practical introduction to the rare book world. Over the course of the seminar, participants gain a comprehensive overview of the trade, from cataloging and bibliographical description to pricing, handling material, and understanding the wider market. Teaching takes place through a combination of lectures, discussions, and hands-on workshop. While CABS in the US takes primarily on a university campus, YABS offers a slightly different setting. The seminar is held in the center of the beautiful historic city of York, and participants benefit from visits to local bookshops, private presses, and other institutions during the week. What makes courses like CABS or YABS particularly special is not only the depth of knowledge shared, but also the opportunity to connect with others in the field. The seminar allows participants to build networks, exchange ideas, and become part of a professional community that continues long after the seminar itself. Both YABS and CABS have helped many booksellers enter the trade or develop their careers further, and ILAB is very keen to promote awareness of these important initiatives. Today's session was set up as an informal opportunity to hear directly from those involved, both faculty and organizers, and to ask questions about what the seminar offers and how to take part. So it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers. Anthony Smithson has been a bookseller for over 30 years, and together with his wife, Alice Laverty, he runs Keel Row Bookshop in Whitley Bay near Newcastle, and co-founded the York Antiquarian Book Seminar in 2014. The idea for YABS grew out of his experience visiting CABS in the US, where he saw firsthand the value of such a program and recognized the need for a similar initiative in the UK. Anthony served as a faculty member for the first 9 years and continued to be closely involved in its development. He currently sits on the board of the ABA Educational Trust and previously served on the council of the ABA. Sophie Schneideman has been an international book and print dealer for over 35 years and has run Sophie Schneideman Rare Books, since 2017. She specializes in the art of the book, including illustration, private presses, fine binding, typography, and artist books. Sophie has taught at YABS for many years and has lectured and published widely. She serves on the council of the ABA Educational Trust and the Friends of the Boyd Lane Library, and is a trustee of the Strawberry Hill Collections Trust and the Paper Foundation. She is also an honorary fellow of the Designer Bookbinders and an active member of several international bibliosocieties. We're also joined by Josh Knight, an alumni of the YABS program. Josh runs Manchester Rare Books and has recently opened his own brick and mortar shop, offering a valuable perspective as a recent participant. So, Anthony, can you start this off by introducing us to the YABS program?
Yeah, so thanks, Liam. Thanks for the introductions. As you said, YABS was set up really as the sister seminar of the Colorado seminar, which I attended back in 2011. And I was tremendously impressed by the Colorado seminar. And I was really mindful that there was no equivalent course in the UK or Europe that I could attend. I had to go to the US, obviously, to participate in the Colorado seminar. and it was, I think, it was both the knowledge that was imparted by the Colorado faculty, the enthusiasm in which with which they imparted it, and the sense of collegiality, that it was a community of booksellers and that we were kind of all in this together. And I wanted to bottle that and transport it back to the UK and spread it amongst the UK trade. So I did exactly that. I went back to the UK in 2011 from the Colorado course. I was a recent member of the Antiquarian Book Association, the ABA, and I went to the two trade associations in the UK. The ABA, obviously, the senior trade association, and the PBFA, which is the Provincial Booksellers Association, which has 400 members or so, just about half of whom are ABA members anyway. And I said, this is a course we need to set up, and this is a course that I'm asking you for funding for. And they were both eager to fund the course. And then at the time, Lawrence Worms was president of the ABA, and I went to him and said, who can you recommend? Who are the 5 vibrant, go-getting young booksellers in the UK who would be perfect for teaching on this course? And I asked all 5 of them. Sophie was one of them. And they all said yes right off the bat. And I think that was partly because of the collegiality I referred to earlier in the book trade, that booksellers are, they're keen to share their knowledge and they're keen to help. But also, it was also as a consequence, I think, of the reputation that CABS already had on this side of the Atlantic. So, we set YABS up in the UK. I wanted to tie it into a book fair. I felt that relationship between the classroom side of YABS, as it became known, the York Antiquarian Book Seminar, and the reality of dealing in rare books, i.e. taking the students into a live fair during setup and allowing them to see booksellers in action, books being traded. I thought that was a really integral part of what we'd be able to offer the students. So we tied it in with the York Book Fair, and yeah, the rest is history, so they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It where did you guys get your funding from? Like, and why did you guys end up in York?
Yeah.
Like,
So as I said, it was split. The funding, the seed corn money was, we were given £5,000 each from the ABA and the PBFA, which at the time, I mean, it's all small acorns, at the time, it didn't seem like a lot of money, but we spread it thin, and we, we made it work. And as I said, we we set it up in York, so it wasn't just about the book fair. So York's a great centre for print. So York, was one of the major 5 centres of print in England in the 18th century, and has always had a core group of antiquarian and collectible bookshops. I think there's still when James reopened Spelman's, there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4 bookshops still in York now, 4 high street bookshops. And the York Fair was, it's the largest rare book fair in Europe. So it's also outside of London. So we were very much thinking about the attendant costs that students would incur by coming and doing the seminar. So not only were they going to have to pay the course fees, but they're going to have to pay accommodation for the duration of the seminar. And York is an awful lot cheaper than, the accommodation in York is an awful lot cheaper than paying for accommodation in London. It's also, as you mentioned earlier, Liam, it's also a really attractive city. It's a walled medieval town with York Minster. I mean, it's just a gorgeous city to hold it in. We also had a very receptive English department at York University who were quite welcoming about the idea about having the seminar in York.
right. Fantastic. Um, can you tell us, how much time is spent between sort of the classrooms and then when you guys are out on the streets going to, libraries and book presses and printing presses and um,
Well,
what's the timeline difference there?
shall I answer that?
Yeah, go for it, Sophie.
Please, yeah.
Okay, now when it started, it was shorter because obviously Anthony was leading the way and finding his way and trying to make it work financially. Now it's 5 days. which is quite long. And a lot of it is in the classroom, but you're very looked after, which I think is the key thing. And the whole group stays together, which is part of book selling, as we all know, is networking, finding your people, finding the people who like the same books as you do. Those friendships that you make at YABS or CABS, I suppose, are invaluable for the rest of your life. And that's how the trade works. It works on gossip and information and sharing. So we do spend quite a lot of time in the classroom, and a mixture between sort of lectures and hands-on workshops. And then in the evenings or sort of late afternoons, evenings, there's always something to do. So one evening we have a drink session to get everyone talking to each other and introducing everybody. Now we have a visit to York Minster Library, which is actually fantastic because they pull out the most amazing things. And people, the students can't believe they're allowed to go and handle these priceless items, sort of like Frost Fair tickets and incredible. There was, I don't know, was it Elizabeth the First prayer book is in
Book. I remember. I still remember that. Yeah.
absolutely amazing, and you're allowed to handle them. We then go on a bookshop tour, go and see the bookshops. You're allowed to buy. It's quite a good experience for people to be buying with people who are used to it, if they're not used to it, and you kind of show them the nuts and bolts of that. And then one evening, there's an incredible woman, Helen Smith, there, who runs she's part of the English department, but she now runs a press, a sort of letterpress, a short walk away from the seminar. So one evening we get to go and actually, having examined how you put a book together, we actually go and print, and everybody gets a chance to print, which is an incredible experience. They get the smell of ink and under their fingernails and feeling the paper going through a press. And that it really is a buzz for people when they can actually see how everything works. And then what else do we do? We have a celebration dinner, more communication. And then, of course, there's the trip to the York Book Fair at the end, which is fantastic for people. And a lot of people stay on for the next day when they're allowed to buy, when the book fair opens, and they feel as though they've been thoroughly dunked into the whole process. So that, there's lots going on. They're looked after, really,
Right.
from, dawn till dusk. Not a moment.
Yeah.
And then, I can tell you more about how the actual thing's set up, but it really covers the whole course is an arc that goes from business matters. There's a lecture I give on running a business, getting funding, all those kind of important things that you have to work out. It's not just, oh, aren't books nice? And then we go through buying a book, cataloging, basically the basic art, buying a book, cataloging a book, and selling a book and putting it in the post. And really the whole thing, you might not think that's important, but a lot of book selling is making parcels, and if you do that wrong, you're not going to get on very well. So we really have that sort of, in a rough manner of speaking, that's the big arc. Within that, we've got all about avoiding fakes and forgeries, how to look for provenance in a book, which has become increasingly important, how to how to sell to a library. And we have a librarian from Senate House Library who comes and tells everyone not to be frightened of that, which is very important, and how to do it. It's really meant so that you don't have to, you can do, but you don't have to go and realize that you don't have to go and do a big apprenticeship with a bookseller. You can actually start with a sort of mentorship and an understanding that you know nothing, which of course I still do after 30 years. And that, how to go through the whole thing. How would you go to a house and pitch to buy books from them? How would you research something? And then we have a big section on proper cataloging, because it's all about upholding standards as well, especially in this world of AI. And I increasingly see AI descriptions on ABE books, which are guff, but you need to know their guff. And so we sort of have a whole thing about proper collating. Collate your books, count the pages, and so that's quite a long part of it. And then people have a go at cataloging, and we oversee that. So it's a lot. I do a bit on illustration techniques, which only some people are interested in. Binding, different binding styles, only some people are interested in. But in the end, they can come back to it and realize that they learned that in the seminar, and they've got a handbook which tells them what to look up if they've forgotten everything, which is the key thing.
Yeah. With the rise of AI, proper cataloging is so important. And I always
Smarts
believe
you out, doesn't it? It makes you into a proper bookseller, and
it sure does. And
it
I
glows.
I always think, the more years you spend cataloging books yourself, you can spot those fake descriptions. It's quite easy. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's great to see you guys trying to
Well, collectors
keep
can
the
see it
faith
a
in it.
mile off
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
They're not
Yeah.
stupid.
yeah, yeah.
We couldn't have, sorry, just to add,
No,
we couldn't have forecast the rise of AI, but the one of the primary reasons we set YABS up was to raise standards within the trade. So we could see online dealers selling books on eBay badly, or selling books on other platforms badly, and it was about, I suppose, for want of a better expression, sort of drawing them into the fold and teaching them how to do it properly. So YABS was set up both to raise standards within the book trade more widely. It was also about increasing diversity in the trade as well. So, we're very mindful that it could be, as an outsider looking in, it can feel like a very male-dominated environment, and certainly a male environment of men of a certain age. And we really wanted to try and change that, change the book, change the the demographic of the book trade to make it more equitable and diverse. Yeah. And it's worked.
yeah,
I mean, 50% of more than 50% annually of the attendees at YABS are women. It's usually 60-40 in the favour of women.
right. Wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that at PBFA, one of the benefits of doing YABS is that the PBFA have been amazing, really, with YABS, and have supported it fully. They give 3 scholarships, and if you do the course, you are allowed to join the PBFA, which means that you could actually stand at a fair, within 6 months or so of having done the course. And it's a great way, the PBFA is a wonderful, friendly association, actually. And so many young people then. I mean, there's Josh, who's, you know, really just got going. We get, every year we get these fantastic alumni who just take off like a rocket. And Josh was one of them. And it's just people who you can see there's with booksellers just have a thing, don't they? I mean, it's an indescribable thing. But we get so many now who come through and you just watch them go like that. I mean, Josh, how soon were you doing fairs after you left YABS? It was pretty quick, wasn't it?
My first one was that summer. It was Brockholes, so it was 2 or 3 months or something. But I think I did a George Jeffreys fair just before that. So after YABS, I bought a collection and did that. But yeah, it was about 3 months. And that's when I started doing fairs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it was good. Yeah.
Look at you now.
And I guess there's also a lot of younger people that I know that I talk to very regularly. Either they work for firms or they work for themselves. I mean, one of my best mates, lives up in Glasgow. We're always on the phone, always doing fairs together, and we're both doing pretty well. And we both did YABS and sort of thank that for that opportunity, basically.
Yeah, I mean, your guide, leading lights, but the age demographic has dropped. Sorry, my dog's barking. The age demographic has dropped enormously. Diversity is a harder game, but we do have lots of women that's come through, like Fiona at Queer Books and people like that who are ploughing on. We've now got people coming through, and they're now in the ABA, and so it's definitely worth doing. But for the people who want to attend, I think Josh kind of hit on it. This kind of networking You feel part of something very quickly,
Yeah.
which I have to say that
Yeah.
having worked my way through the trade, it took me a long time to feel part of something bigger than just the company I was working for. And in the end, that sort of feeling of comradeship, and the fact you can ask people things, and you realize you can ask people things, and you can get help, and you can, or you could
Yeah.
get someone to come in on a collection of books with you, that becomes very clear very quickly. And you watch people, sort of linking up together, and you think, gosh, they're going to be okay because they're already communicating with each other. And yeah, so that, I think that is a really positive side of it. And the fact that we do so much together during those 5 days has definitely helps the whole thing, and makes people feel, they've already got their first cohort.
Yeah.
And that helps a lot, I think. Yeah.
It's an industry of individuals, but if you can, if you've got that personality skill set, you can, in a room like YABS where there's that much energy, there's a kind of an energy in the room, which is just sort of imbued by the students. I suppose the faculty have been doing the what they've been doing. Most of us on the faculty, or I was on the faculty when I was on the faculty, for over 30 years. And it's that enthusiasm that's carried us forward, and it's an infectious enthusiasm. It's one of the reasons why we never put the course online, because you can't duplicate that energy in a webinar like this. You've kind of got to be in the room.
Yeah, I think even if I didn't learn anything on YABS or CABS, the connections I made would have paid dividends. I have people that I do have joint stuff with, or people that I know from YABS or CABS that I just send stuff to all the time, and they've bought a lot from me, and that's great. And that's having friends is incredibly valuable, because you can joint, lower your risk, you can get free advice, which is great. And yeah, it's great.
And realize that book selling's really fun. I don't know why we're getting away with it. But yeah, so I don't know if you want to know more about the absolute details of what we cover.
What about the on the business end, like since 2014, like technology is just, they say it doubles every 5 years. And so have you guys adjusted to that? Like, do you spend time on, how shipping platforms work, and database software, and insurance, and all that kind of?
We do a bit on that. I mean, obviously, everybody wants to do things their own way. So we talk about the best way to do it, really, because there's 10 different answers, is we talk about what databases we all use, and there's people who've been working for 30 years who still just use an Excel spreadsheet. I don't know how, but anyway, that's and then obviously there are there's different insurers, so we just leave leaflets about who they should use. But yeah, we keep in touch with, obviously the English and American issues are different with tax and VAT and limited company versus not, but we do cover that. Also, funding is different. You wouldn't necessarily go to your bank. You can go to a funding circle. You could, you find all sorts of different ways. So we do talk about all of that. And then we talk a little bit about, I think in the early days, we were talking about, really giving advice about how to build a website to do it. But now you don't need to so much. I mean, Josh's generation, they can just do it by, I've done a website, and someone my age is going, oh.
It took me longer than that. It was, I'm not good at that stuff. That was horrible. I got someone else to do it. I think I can't do that.
Yeah,
I think it used to be a major investment anyway, and now, it's still expensive.
It wasn't that. It wasn't. Yeah.
It's not like the £20,000 that it used to be, and
I think you're right, Sophie. I think is the demographic of the student body is sort of like it's become evident that they're always getting younger. There's a lot more graduates, a lot of kids in their 20s. They're a lot more digitally literate than the faculty are. And we can make assumptions about their level of knowledge, and I think as in terms of the digital world, and as the course has progressed, it's become more about the books and more about the book trade. When we started, it was like, wow, we're in a really rapidly changing world here. We're going to have to adapt the book trade to this ever-changing world, and us as faculty are going to have to try and impart that to the students. And it's almost reversed itself now, in that they know more about the digital world than we do, but we know about the books and we know about the book trade. And so it's that marriage of those two knowledge bases, I think, that shifted what we teach at YABS.
I mean, obviously we talk about social media and things, and wonderful Rachel from the ABA office comes and talks about that, and she's really clear about it. Actually, she really, gives you good guidance as to, timelines. I think really is the key thing. Whatever you're using, you need to have, if you're building up to a catalogue or a fair, you've got to have timelines. Well, here's me writing notes going, I better do that. And she's really clear about how to do it. And that's really helpful, actually. That really helps a lot of people, because as much as you might use whatever you might use, Facebook or Instagram or Telegram or whatever people use, but putting that to business use can be very different for people, so they get to understand it. I don't know what is there any questions anyone has, I guess, is what do they, if they want to know more detail about what we cover, or we talk about opening a shop, we talk about how to do a fair, we talk about how to just deal on your own online. There's lots of different ways. We talk about sort of just online bookshops, in-person bookshops, everything. And there's representatives of all of that will come into either be on the faculty or come in for a panel at one point, so that you can see all the different types of book selling, because everybody's different. They want to do it a different way. And so as much information as we give. And I think one of the big stresses is that people can contact us afterwards if they want anything.
Yeah.
And I think CABS is the same, isn't it? That there's a sort of unspoken thing that you can call any of the faculty and they're there to help.
That's useful. Yeah.
I
just wanted to add like one thing to sort of what I gained from YABS and CABS. It is sort of a confidence with it. So I had been around books my whole life, but actually going and doing YABS and CABS and learning things, especially like you said earlier with Sophie, with the leather bindings and stuff that you don't really think you're that interested in. I was still there, I was still paying attention, and you can sort of gain information as well from that. And then when you have to deal with it, because you can make money from something, you feel a lot more confident in everything. And getting just advice on your cataloging, even for me, it was just very simple books, but it was like, is it all right? And someone just said, yeah, no, this is fine for what this is, it's great. So there was a lot of confidence that you don't really get those attaboys if you're working for yourself, basically, or on your own. So having that confidence and feeling good about it is a nice thing that you can't really get anywhere else, basically.
You're on the right line.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I'm glad to hear you say that, Josh, because the book traders, from an outsider looking in, can appear to be this like kind of opaque, kind of dusty, kind of academic-y, kind of impenetrable world. And YABS and CABS, to an extent, demystify the trade, and we do it deliberately, and we do it for people exactly like you, who Sophie and I, we both, the early years of our self-employment, we 30 years ago, 35 years ago now probably, we were struggling to get a foothold. Nobody would tell us anything. We had to figure it all out for ourselves. And I just wanted to kind of give everybody that came and did the course a massive leg up, and just give them a big jump between day one and day 1,000, so they could they could skip all of that, the hard work at the early stages.
Well, it's not a mystery, and it's sometimes made to sound as though, oh, you'll only know this if you've been in business for 10 years, and you young whippersnapper, you're not going to know this. And actually, for me, I mean, often I worked at in a big bookshop until I went on my own in 2007. But I was made to feel as though, I wouldn't be ready for the next bit for a while. I'd have to do 10 years before I was ready for that. And this, honestly, obviously you need to have the experience of dealing with a lot of books. That goes without saying, that you can't just expect to know everything after this, but it does mean that you know where to look everything up after this and who to talk to, and that really it's not shut to you, and you don't have to do 10 years hard labor to get to that stage, and it's not hard. Your ability as a businessman probably is the hardest bit of all. Staying in business is the bit that you have to learn how to do. The rest it does come. If you're brave and you've got an element of risk, which I think is something I do talk about. And if you don't, we've had people who come and do the course who people who've finished their academics, and they are on that path, and they come and do the course, and then they go, actually, they go and talk to Lucy, who's the librarian there, and they think, actually, I'm a librarian. I'm not a bookseller. I don't want to sell these things. I want to do a different version. And, we've had several people who come through and do that. One's now at Lambeth Palace Library, which again was a connection they made through YABS. So that was amazing. And so there's something for everybody. Some people are just going, is this for me? I don't know. We have collectors who come just to try and understand how the trade works a bit. And it demystifies that for them, which is good. I mean, the whole thing is about making it accessible and not feeling intimidated. And I think there's a lot of intimidation in the trade particularly when you're young. Would you agree, Josh? There's a lot of people
I've been around. I mean, I've been around it my whole life, and there's still certain people I'm a bit scared of for no reason. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, no, it definitely, it makes it. You meet loads of people. You've got you go to any other fair. You're always going to have your group. Oh, we did YABS together. We're always texting each other. It's nice. It's not that scary.
No.
Yeah.
And it's multi-generational now. We're getting, there's a point at which the old guard who are teaching now, we're very aware. We're getting people in who are younger to come and teach, and that's the next changeover, is going to be us slowly drifting off and letting the next generation get on with the teaching. And that has to happen, and that's really healthy. And hopefully it'll be Josh one day. But yeah, it's been very good for diversity, I think, and much more women. I get slightly worried about the bravery of, women setting up on their own. I think they're much more likely to question themselves, so they don't just jump. But we're working on it.
Yeah.
And has anyone got any questions? I suppose is the next.
Can we just touch on maybe scholarships? What's out there, what's available?
There's 22 scholarships at the moment.
Wow.
So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right, crikey.
And they're all a bit mixed. I give one that I can't afford to to give everything, all the accommodation. I pay all the fees and travel, and then the person comes and works for me at the book fair afterwards for a bit work experience, which I pay them for because I think you should, but it's a bit different. There's some that are everything. They'll pay for everything. ILAB has one, which Liam can tell us about. And then the ABA does, and the PBFA have 3. And then there's lots of other ones that are there. So you don't have to be wealthy. And we try and keep the fees down. You get fed most nights and every day. And, the fees are £750 for 5 days. And you really, you can live off the lunch and a lot of the the food that you're given. I think there's one evening where you're not going to get food. So, we try and keep it, reasonable. And obviously, some people can't afford it, but there are a lot of options for them, actually.
And a lot of the scholarships have different opening and closing dates. So just be mindful if you're looking at the scholarships on the website. And I know Josh just shared the link, I think, for the scholarships on the YABS website. Just be mindful about the opening and closing dates of the scholarships if you're thinking of applying.
Yeah, great.
Do
Um,
you want to tell us about the ILAB one, Liam?
I don't have those in front of me, embarrassingly.
It's very generous.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a couple. And if anybody has any questions, they can contact us, and we'll circulate that to the group afterwards. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions from the group, or is there anything that Anthony or Sophie, you guys?
I think
Jordan?
Jordan
Did I
has
see
a
Jordan
question.
waving his hand there?
Oh, sorry, and I
Jordan?
think somebody posted a question maybe in the chat. Didn't mean to jump ahead.
Oh,
Oh no, that's okay. You ask and I'll
Okay.
answer Lisa in a minute.
I was curious, so if you mentioned people going from showing up at YABS and going into librarianship, you also mentioned the word risk. So I'm kind of asking if you think YABS if you'd recommend it for people who are looking to go the other direction from like rare book librarianship into bookselling, and especially to do it, I guess, sort of tiptoeing into it and doing it with limited risk.
Yes.
Do you think it's still kind of worth it?
Definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
I only talk about risk because I think there's always a level of that. You know, you buy a book and you're gonna go, oh, gonna sell it. You know, I'm not really talking about being a massive risk taker. And you know, that's up to everyone. You know, it depends how big you want business to be or whatever. Definitely it's worth doing it because you know, there is a bit I talk about, you know, about, you know, keeping one job going while you're doing it. But it's really just giving you the nuts and bolts of how to do it. And you know, well, you know, the conventional ways of doing it. And of course, people are going to come up with new and amazing ways of dealing, aren't they? I mean, it's changed so much already. And but you know, I definitely for librarians. I mean, you'll get a lot from it. And also, you know, you've got a librarian there, Lucy. And, you know, in the trade, there's always been this kind of movement. You know, you've often got
Yeah.
people who go from being a book, you know, there's Andy at Duke who went from being a bookseller to being a librarian. And then you got Dan de Simone, who I think was a bookseller, then a librarian, then a bookseller again.
Yes, yeah.
And it's always been a sort of grey, you know, grey area because the interest is there. And I think it is worth doing, definitely, because the difference is you're understanding how to sell, really. Librarian learns how to buy and they learn how to catalog, but they don't necessarily. I mean, obviously, you can't teach someone everything in 5 days, but you can get a feel for it. And if you really think, oh God, I couldn't do that, I couldn't possibly offer someone something, then but you'll know that. Yeah, no, I think I'm not saying you have to have massive risk. Lots of people don't. I know lots of people in the PBFA or the ABA who aren't big risk takers and just very, very careful and never been overdrawn in their life. I am a big risk taker, so
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Can I add to that, Jordan? I think bookselling's if you're a librarian, if you want to take up bookselling in a small way, YABS will provide you with another string to your bow, and you can do it at the pace that you want to do it at, and as Sophie said, with the level of risk that you want to attend to the business. But you've got the skill set. Once you've done YABS, you've got the skill set, and you can do it in a small way, watch it grow and expand. But be warned, it is highly addictive. And if you've got even the remotest idea that it's something you want to do for a living, then the seed's probably already been planted.
yeah. And the people are addictive. You know,
Yeah.
oh, you've got a whole
Yeah.
world of friends. You know, wherever you go in the world, you'll find somebody who you can talk to.
I will say most of my bookseller friends seem to be having a lot more fun actually handling a lot more books. So yeah, thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah. Lisa, I've got to answer your question. So the list of topics does move quite a bit. You know, we do something on modern firsts every year. We do something on forgeries. We do something on provenance. we do have a different speaker every year, a keynote speaker. Last year it was Elizabeth Crawford, who is a sort of bookseller and famous suffragette historian, absolutely amazing woman. This year we've got a book dealer who's also been an auctioneer, who's done everything, Ian Marr, who's a very interesting man who's done bookselling in every way. So he's not talking about specific a topic of bookselling, but he's talking about the bigger world of bookselling. And then we have a panel of 3 people, 4 people, 3 to 4 people every year, where they all do different things. So there's lots of different subjects talked about. We'll cover book bindings. We'll just cover illustration. We'll cover pitching a book, selling a book. We'll cover buying books. We'll cover pretty much everything. We'll always do the printing. That will always happen. There'll always be something on book fairs, running a shop, social media. So that, there's certain things that are always there, but the speakers will change. And and we're very open to suggestions if people want something particular subject covered. But we try to cover most things, but we won't cover every kind of area of book selling. We won't necessarily always talk about travel books or whatever, but it will be dependent on who's on the faculty that year.
I feel like most questions were answered, and then also, if there was something small, you could just ask someone that question, at a dinner or something later on, or just raise your hand. So everything seemed, from what I remember, seemed to be covered. But
yeah, there's always asking questions. Exactly. And then find your person. You'll be given a mentor. Each group, there's a little groups within groups now. And each person, you'll have a mentor, and they might well say, listen, I'm not the right person, you need to go and talk to that person, or whatever, because they don't. There's another question there. Maybe Anthony can answer that. How much?
Yeah, none whatsoever. The seminar is designed for people from all sorts of experience, Catherine. You can come into the seminar with no prior knowledge about rare books and manuscripts. We will teach you everything that you need to know from the get-go. What you learn in the seminar is not just what is provided in the lectures. We also provide you with a handbook, which has what we can't get across in the lectures, we'll give you in the handbook. And that has a lot of the rudiments of the trade. One of the first things you're taught, if not the first thing you're taught when you walk into the room, is how to handle a rare book. It takes 5 minutes. It's very simple. And it's that basic a level that we begin at. The days of I want to try and get across as well that the days are quite intense. This is a tiring seminar. Everybody always says at the end, I'm absolutely exhausted. That was an awful lot of information to take in. And it's because we do have that story arc that Sophie mentioned. We begin right at the beginning, and we take you as far into that arc as we can in those 5 days. And at the end of the seminar, the idea being that you've got the rudimentary skills to be a rare bookseller. You've got the nuts and bolts of the business model, hopefully forming in your mind, and what kind of bookseller you could be. Well, am I going to be a social media bookseller? Do I like the idea of a bricks and mortar shop? I know how to collate a book now. I know how to describe a modern first edition or an antiquarian book in its basic form. So no, you don't need any prior knowledge of rare books. You are provided with a if and when you sign up to the seminar, you are provided with a reading list, which is really helpful if you get hold of those books prior, and they're all readily available online. It kind of core texts which will help you understand the rare book world prior to getting to the seminar. So there is prep that you do have to do prior to getting there.
You won't be tested.
You might be tested. Your knowledge will be tested. But no prior knowledge is necessary.
Well, I've run out of questions. Or general questions anyway. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to ask? Sophie, Anthony, Josh, is there anything you guys want to say or before
I
we?
would only add that the bookings for the seminar open at 10 a.m. tomorrow
Okay.
on the YABS website. Just click on bookings and you'll follow the link. I would say that the seminar is incredibly popular and we're oversubscribed every year. And it's generally the people who are quickest off the mark who at 10 a.m. tomorrow who get the places. We wish we could. Good question, Lisa. How many people will participate? There are 40 students annually at the seminar.
Might be upping that, Lottie, don't you think?
Yeah, maybe up to 45 potentially. Yeah.
What a great indication of the success of your program, that there's such strong demand. I mean,
Yeah.
what there's no clear indication that what you guys done is working and is a success, and it's just a real contribution to the book selling community and something we're all trying to keep going. And yeah. So I guess last call for questions here. I feel
Well, I
like
think
an
Josh
auctioneer.
should just let us know about his new bookshop and where it is.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah.
It's going to be an Oldley Edge in the railway station. I'll be open about 2 weeks, but I'll be painting and moving books in and putting up bookshelves and all that. So yeah, I'm unsure if I'm going to do an opening thing yet, but I don't know. I'll see what happens. But yeah, it should be good. Yeah, very excited.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Good luck.
Great.
Yeah.
Railway
Thank
station.
you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, bought loads of railway books just for it.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
your customers.
Yeah, it's really fun. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Building a store is always exciting. It's like building a fort when you're a kid, you know.
I'm very looking forward to it. Yeah.
Great analogy.
Most exciting.
Yeah.
As my father said, you build a store and then it takes you 5 years to actually move in fully, you know. But what a great time. So congratulations. That's
Thank
really
you.
exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Sophie, Anthony, Josh, Angelica in the background. Thanks for participating. Thanks for commenting, and I wish you guys all the best. And to all the students, I hope you get involved and enjoy it. And if you have any questions, reach out to anybody on the panel. We're all here to help, and we just want to see this thing keep growing. So thanks for everybody.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Liam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take
Thanks
care.
for hosting.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.